What are your parents' annoying habits? Story 1. Up until recently, I would have said they're all up in my business. I know they mean well, but it can get frustrating as fuck. Having said that, my BF grew up with emotionally absent parents. I mean, his parents are fucking automatons. They refer to themselves as wasps. When he was a kid, they'd get home from work, have a drink, and head out again. It was no big deal to go on vacation during the holidays and leave him with a random relative. They were not comfortable with hugging or kissing. He literally never heard, "I love you." The closest they got was, "You've made me proud." He heard that 3 times and he remembers exactly where, when it happened, because it meant so much to him. He told me he came back from his first day of preschool and kissed his mom on the cheek because he'd seen another kid do it to his mom and realized he wanted to do the same. He said his mom cringed, wiped her cheek, and told him, "Calm down, I don't like you this way." So that definitely put things in perspective for me and helped me appreciate my own parents a little more. Edit. I have posted about this before in case it looks familiar. Story 2. My mom stays on me to see a doc about every little thing, but when I mention her seeing a doc for serious issues, she has years-long cough, yellowing skin, excessive weight loss, near complete lack of appetite. She says she's not going to see a quack. This woman hasn't seen a doctor in damn near 20 years. Story 3. News. They have to watch the 6 o'clock local news, then the national news at 6:30, and then the world news from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. It's frustrating when you can look news up on your phone these days, and the world news is pretty much going to repeat the national news. Everything has to stop for this. Would be nice to listen to music instead during dinner, or watch Jeopardy. Story 4. My mom is the kindest and sweetest person ever. Not one malicious bone in her body. No hyperbole. But she has the worst fucking hearing on the planet and is really bad about wearing her hearing aids. Even with them in, we constantly have to repeat ourselves to her. She also watches me like a hawk. Again, not in a malicious way, but in an annoyingly attentive way. Basically, I'm still 12 years old to her and she's constantly telling me things I really don't need to know. It drains my energy constantly even though she is just trying to help. Oh, and she forgets she's told stories to us before. I've quite literally heard every story she tells dozens of times, and I will hear them dozens more. Sigh. Story 5. My mom just pops by whenever she pleases, without calling or texting first. The middle of a workday? Doesn't matter. She'll stop by and expect to chat. She's also really judgmental, so she'll judge me if my house isn't spotless. "Lady, if you want my house to be clean, you need to give me some notice that you're stopping by." Story 6. Whenever I'm walking in public with my mom, and we're crossing a street, she will first either fling out her arm in front of me or yank on my shirt and yell, "Wait, wait, wait!" Meanwhile, I'm just standing there, like she will just assume I'm going to bolt into traffic. I'm 30 years old with a family of my own. I have never run out into traffic without looking, and neither have my siblings. But that makes me want to jump into traffic out of spite, lol. Story 7. My dad will not stop talking. He talks constantly. I can't even have a relationship with him anymore. There are things I want to tell him, but I can never get more than a few syllables out before he jumps in and starts telling me about something similar, or what I should do in the situation he thinks I'm going to tell him about. I'm a truck driver specialized in hauling the largest, heaviest things on the road, and he has no idea. I can't tell him about anything I do. He will not stop talking. Story 8. A stranger cannot exist in their periphery without them making very loud commentary, along with exaggerated gestures in the direction of that person. And it's always critical, of course. "Wow, she shouldn't be wearing that. That hair color is an interesting choice. Wow, what does he see in her?" They simultaneously think that they are very open and accepting people, which makes it more maddening. Story 9. My parents, despite being told numerous times I am willing to accommodate nothing with last-minute heads up, always tell me at the last minute something is going on, then get disappointed when I say I'm not coming. Or they just forget to tell me shit is going on in general. 2 years ago, I found out my dad's side of the family was getting together for our Christmas gathering. Over 40 people, it's a chore, so we just do it when everyone can. The literal night before it happened, because my sister texted me asking when I was planning on showing up to it the next day. Story 10. My mother went unemployed for about 20 years and is now back in the workforce. Every time I talk to her, it is about her job and her coworkers and about workplace drama, a few sips of wine, and she'll repeat all of it too. It drives me insane. My father is the nicest person on earth, except the first hour of the morning. It is best to leave him alone. He will wash any dishes in the sink and audibly say very negative things about everyone while doing it. Story 11. I'm a 38-year-old man and have been a working engineer for 15 plus years. My dad has to supervise every task he asks me to do and tell me exactly how to do every step. He never says, "Hey, could you change the light bulb, please?" He says, "Okay, I need you to get the stepladder and set it up right here. Okay, now, I need you to undo. There'll be 3 screws around the base of that light fixture. Okay, the base is the top because it's upside down. You're going to be facing the first screw, so turn it counterclockwise to get it out. Okay, now put a hand on the light fixture so it doesn't fall. Okay, now about 1/3 of the way around there'll be another screw. You feel it? Okay, so turn that screw counterclockwise as though you were facing it. So from where you are now, it's like a 3/5 S diagonal counterclockwise. Okay, now make sure you have your hand on the fixture or else it'll fall. Okay, now the last screw is the only thing holding the fixture up, and so it goes. If I try to jump ahead or do anything that isn't exactly what he has told me to do, he fucking explodes and starts screaming about how it's my fucking house and it's my right to have it done how I want. He'll gatekeep steps too. He's hidden the light bulbs and batteries, so I have to wait for him. It's fucking wild to me. I've recently realized myself that I'm an adult, and I don't have to do things if he's just going to scream at me, because there actually are only 2 hoses on the back spigot, and he thought there were 3, so he starts screaming because I didn't look hard enough. Or God forbid he wants something tech set up and he can't remember which of a million cryptic phrases he has scribbled on loose paper scattered around the house is his password to Amazon Prime. Story 12. My mom has a hard time to listen, especially when it's serious. My older sister or myself would speak about anything serious, and she would immediately change the subject to anything lighter and or meaningless. Talking with her is so frustrating. No wonder why I don't talk much to anyone. I will always think I'll get shut down. Story 13. Automatically assuming everything is my fault. One time in high school, my job at the local grocery store called my house phone, which of course my mom answered, and said I was supposed to be there at 7 a.m. She bursts into my room, screaming at me and basically held me at gunpoint to get ready to go. The whole time she's screaming a lecture at me about how she's so concerned about my sense of responsibility, how this would get me fired at another job, etc. Turns out the store had fucked up their schedule and I wasn't even supposed to be in at all that day. Still got grounded. Story 14. My mom is an absolute neat freak and will clean up anything she thinks is in a spot that it's not supposed to be. This includes a laptop I have out because I'm going to use it later, or clothes my dad sets out for tomorrow morning, or things he needs for work. I will come home from hanging out with friends and my room will be spotless, and all my stuff will be put away in random places. It drives us all bonkers. My dad has a habit of becoming very inconvenienced very quickly. It's a bit embarrassing at times, since he has a bit of a tendency to put on a display about it. But I also know he has Asperger's, and having plans changed abruptly are not things he deals with well. So I can let it slide a bit, but for the most part it is still annoying, embarrassing to deal with. Story 15. My mom has a habit of making incorrect inferences. Not usually anything particularly bad, but it leads to confusion and misunderstanding when she says something that comes totally out of left field and throws the conversation off because you have no way of divining what she's talking about when you don't share the same inferences or have any idea where these assumptions have come from. My dad has selective hearing and tunes people out really easily, leading to him not paying attention to other people in conversations sometimes, which most often manifests when he will make the exact same joke/comment/observation, either my mother or I just made like 30 seconds after she and I joked about it. Story 16. My mom overcomplicates things. I think that's why she works in local government. Example. Every month in 2024, like clockwork, she sits at the kitchen table and looks through every receipt. She writes each item from the past month in her check registry. Then she calls each individual company to pay the bill. I've walked in on her cussing out the phone trying to get a representative on the line. If she can't pay over the phone, she will write and mail checks, which she also has to update in her registry. She also insists on doing every bank deposit through a teller. I've explained how transactions will post to online banking within a few days. I've explained how ATMs give itemized receipts with pics of checks. I've explained that paying bills online and autopay can save her the hassle cost and waiting time of mailing checks. Even tried to explain how a paperless path or autopay can offer discounts at some places. No dice. She'd rather spend an entire afternoon every month doing bills. Story 17. My mom thinks she's my PR department, that everything I tell anyone has to be told to her first. God forbid I post something on social media and she didn't see it before it was posted, know the information, etc. It's gotten out of hand where I'm completely over it. Recently, she got mad because it was mine and my wife's anniversary. I posted on FB but forgot to remind my mom of the date so that she could wish us happy anniversary. IDK, it's chaos and over-the-top exhausting. Story 18. Constantly changing their opinions about something. My parents, mostly my mom, often changes her opinion depending on her mood and the current situation. I remember in pandemic when I was trying to create a YT channel so that I can earn some money, she would constantly change what she has to say. Sometimes she supports me, sometimes she doesn't. She don't even care at times, Lowell. What's worse is it doesn't only change day by day. It changes as the conversation progresses. So I often avoid to talk to her about my problems. Story 19, TLDR. Using guilt to manipulate. I have a tumultuous relationship with my family in general and don't speak to most of them, one of my parents included. But one really bad habit my mom has is guilting. Like, I'm so tired /sick/poor/angry insert random request, you've never done anything for me, to the point I'm actively distancing myself. A recent example. I took my underinsured mother to the hospital, paid $600 in copays she couldn't so she could get a biopsy. Then when we got the results back as stage 2 of a very treatable cancer, we made all necessary plans. Pan to a week later and I get a call from Mom about how a friend of hers found out she has cancer and waived most of the cost of her oceanfront condo if she wants it. Apparently, she called her doctor who said no sun during radiation, chemo not needed/necessary. So Mom tells me I only have to pay a $400 cleaning fee, take a week off unannounced from work, to take her before her radiation starts in 2 weeks. I'm also expected to pay for food, drinks, and recreation during this week. She tells me she planned everything and what dates she wants, then goes on about how stressed and depressed she's been long before the cancer, and I haven't taken her on vacation. My brother gave her so much to go, but she had to spend it on bills, blah blah. Mind you, Mom lives literally 10 minutes from one of the best beaches in the country, Clearwater. But she doesn't like the Gulf because it doesn't have waves, literally 10 minutes from the parking on the beach. I explain that I can't afford to pay for it, and can't take unannounced time off work for vacations with no forewarning. I offered to plan for after surgery so I have time to budget and request off. Well, she goes off about how she gave me life and has cancer and it's as fucked up that I'm so selfish to not call out and take her. She then proceeds to call my entire family and bitch about how selfish I am. They all live in a different state. I then get bombarded by siblings and cousins calling me an asshole. She also told them the cancer was way more serious than originally thought, which it isn't. I was there and the emergency contact during biopsy and follow-up. The next day, Mom texts me saying, seeing as my kids won't even make a small sacrifice while I'm dying of cancer, I'll find my own way to the beach. BTW, I'm going to Virginia for treatment as I have no support here. I also got a text from my aunt whom she is apparently staying with saying I'm really selfish and will regret this. Again, very curable, north of 80% survivability. I already paid a surgical copay and had zero issues doing so, obviously. It's the vacation that makes me a bad person. Add to this the fact that I didn't meet my mom until I was 11 because of drugs and had a really, really rough upbringing because of this and the situation that stemmed from it. It's not only attached to asking me for things. If I ask her to dog sit or something, I get a 40-minute lecture about how I'm an asshole because she has so little and is so stressed all the time and can't do anything to help me. I made her feel guilty, so I need to apologize for asking. Yeah, sorry for the rant. Mainly this is cathartic to be able to speak out loud. Thanks, y'all. Be well. Story 20. My dad does not listen when I talk. Will regularly walk away when I'm mid-sentence. Interrupt with a new topic. Ask the same question multiple times. If we're in a group, he'll cut across me anytime I open my mouth. He's a great man, but it drives me fucking insane. I know he doesn't realize he's doing it. He would never be intentionally rude. Best solution is just walking away. Tried to address it a million times, calmly, angrily, based on professionals' advice, Nada. Doesn't do it with anyone else, just me. Story 21. I've got 2 I want to share. The first is that my parents, more specifically my mom, used my dead name and the wrong pronouns. She's even said the right one, and then corrected to the wrong one. The other is that my parents don't knock. I will be in my room in the middle of changing and my mom will walk right in to ask me questions, see I'm changing, and continue talking to me. When my dad does it, he immediately backs out and says to come talk with him when I'm done. Story 22. Watching TV during dinner. Not even watching, but just as a background sound. It frustrates me so much. It's not even the act of eating while watching something because I do that too. It's the talking, while eating and having this annoying sound in the background. And honestly, it just annoys me, especially if the news are on. I know about all the heinous things going on at the world. It might be selfish, but I don't want to listen about people dying while trying to eat dinner. Story 23. My dad. He's retired, but he misses his career he had as a professor. He would lecture all day to people who were paying to hear him. He was a genuinely well-liked prof and frequently got compliments and good ratings. He worked for 45 years at the same school. He only retired when he had a heart attack. That was 10 years ago, but he still needs to interject into conversations with his kids about their careers. His advice and knowledge is a bit worn out now. It's not all bad, but he has the boomer mentality on many things. It's tough because I can see myself hanging out with work friends post-retirement and talking about glory days and how the kids working today just don't get it. But yeah, it's annoying. It's the fight to remain relevant and vital. Story 24. Everything seems to have a very significant meaning to them. So you just need to keep your style very bland, not start any random conversations about new things, keep everything very middle of the road. Just need to stay away from doing, wearing, or saying anything too notable, but also not be too plain or quiet, because then they will become suspicious. Story 25. My mom just assumes I know all the people she's talking about. No, Mama, I don't remember Wyan from down the road. Why? Because you just moved and I haven't even been to your new house yet, let alone met any of your neighbors. My dad's most annoying habit is he can never remember what my actual career title is. I'm an esthetician, but he keeps saying I'm a hairdresser, LOL. Story 26. Continuing to update me on my sibling that I am no contact with. Sibling cut me off due to thinking I had told our mom information that she actually heard from her grandchild, sibling's child. Mom didn't bother to correct sibling, so I get a book of texts of how shitty myself and my husband are. Let's not forget that we have been sacrificing our weekends for over a year to watch sibling's child. My family is dumb as shit sometimes. Story 27. I'm my mom's only child and I'm my dad's fifth. He was married 3 times. 3 of my siblings were adopted from his second marriage. My one biological sibling is from his first marriage, and I was the reason he got married a 3rd time. It's not as bad as it sounds, I promise. I was my mom's guinea pig on how to be a parent. And while she didn't fail, she fell short on the human element of it. My dad knew when being strict was necessary, and my mom was strict all the time and honestly kind of hypocritical. I needed to be in bed by 9 every night while she stayed up until midnight. I got a tongue lashing for swearing, but she'd say every hell, goddamn, and shit in the book. Told her my dad was more or less a friend when he needed to be, and a parent when it was required. My mom was very domineering all the time. Story 28. I should have my therapist answer this since she's got the full list. But I would say now as an adult it's undermining me to my children and stepchildren. She'll jokingly say never to listen to me and not to trust me, and that they don't have to do what I say. Luckily, I have a great relationship with my children, so they know she's the one being disrespectful and inappropriate, but it's still infuriating. Years of therapy to build self-confidence after a lifetime of gaslighting and emotional abuse that still continues.